Hello, and welcome to the Vlogging Pod. Tonight, we are joined by romantic suspense and romantic comedies author LoLoPaige. Welcome to the room, Lolo. How are you this evening?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's great. Everything's great up here. You'll
Nice.
laugh.
And up here, just to let our audience know, is Alaska. Yes?
Yes, it
Oh,
sure is.
nice. Nice. So I want to start right off. We're gonna go back to the Alaska part, but I wanted to start right off with Wildland Firefighter. Tell me about this life before writing.
Oh, geez. Yes. When I lived in Montana, which is where I'm from originally, I majored in forestry at the university there in Missoula and got into fire and worked as a seasonal firefighter down there with the Forest Service for several years. And then I transferred up to Alaska with a different agency, and I got into it with the Alaska Fire Service up in Fairbanks, which was a lot of fun, and did that for a couple seasons. So yeah, I had a lot of adventures and all that kind of thing. So later on, I thought, gee, when I was wanting to write fiction, I thought, that'd be a good place to start. Once I started, though, I got addicted into it, and so I've been writing it ever since.
Nice. Very nice. And how long was your firefighting career?
It wasn't that long. I did it mainly in my 20s and early 30s. And then when I started having kids, I got out of it because I just didn't want to be flying around Alaska in airplanes with my little babies at home and that kind of thing. Although my husband was excellent in watching my kids and all of that. But yeah, once I started having children, I took a job closer to home in Anchorage.
Oh, nice. So let's talk a little bit about Alaska Blaze. How much of this was influenced by working out as a firefighter?
Most of what I wrote in the very first book, Alaska Spark, was a lot of it's based on inspired by true events. I took several things that happened the first couple of summers and I incorporated it into that novel. I think what a lot of us do when we're starting out like that is you kind of pour yourself into your first book. And
Mhm.
that's what happened with me. I just kind of went, oh, here I am. And I just pulled myself into that little Hummer. So,
Nice. Nice. So is Alaska Blaze your first book? Was it your first?
Alaska Spark was the first one, and then Alaska
Alaska Spark.
Inferno, and then
Okay.
Blaze is this one I'm working on now that'll be releasing in April. So far there's 3 in the series with a 4th to come later, Alaska Firestorm. And then after that, I'm thinking of moving the series into a different state. Since I fought fire in Montana, California, and Alaska, I thought, maybe I'll move it down to Montana.
Nice. Nice. So, um, now let me know if I have this incorrect. I believe you
Okay.
have 11, is it 11 books on Amazon?
I think I have 11 titles, but out of those, 5 are my novels, and then the rest are anthologies that I
Oh, okay.
joined
It
last
still
year.
counts,
Yeah.
still counts.
Does it? Okay.
It still counts, trust me, it still counts. You put a part in it, it counts. Um, so how would you describe, let's just, be as, articulate as possible. How
Okay.
would you describe the heat of the flames your fire skills of writing have added to all of your books?
Let's see. Are we talking about the romance heat or the actual fire heat?
It
Um,
could be both. Could be both.
well, they go hand in hand oftentimes.
Yes.
Um, well, I'll tell you what. I had a close encounter on my first interior Alaska fire, and it was we literally had to run for our lives.
Oh, wow.
We wound This was all before GPS, before all the technology, and we were using aerial fire photos. We were using topographic maps and radios, and we didn't
Mhm.
have, cell phones and all that. So we got into the wrong. Up here in Alaska, there's these things called finger ridges on mountains. They just kind of go off, off the main mountain. Well, we were on the wrong one and
Mm.
heading straight towards the head of the fire. And we started getting headaches and coughing and all this stuff as we were trying to get over to the other flank. And what happened was we were in a ravine and the thing was coming at us. So an air tanker came over and dropped retardant on us to buy us time to get up this steep mountain, which was our only escape. So we were scrambling up that little Hummer, and it was scary because we're literally on hands. It was so steep. We're pulling ourselves up with our hands and grabbing bushes and everything else. Well, we um, got up to the top eventually and then had to be airlifted out because we had smoke inhalation. People were injured and that kind of thing. I wrote this up for a newspaper here in Anchorage, and it won an award. It won a Alaska Press Club award. And
Wow.
so one of the judges says, "Hey, why don't you write this into a novel?" And I was like, "Oh." So that's kind of what gave birth to Alaska Spark. And I did use that, only I made it a lot worse in the novel because we can. And, you know, fiction, fiction. And so, yeah, that was scary. It really was, and that was one of the reasons why I went, "You know what? I think I'm gonna," because I had my second child, and I thought, I just don't wanna leave my daughters without a mom if I have another situation like that, so,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right. Well, since you mentioned, Alaska Spark being your first book, and I think that I read that you were doing writing off and on when you were in your career. So tell me
Yeah.
the off and on writing while you were firefighting and how it changed when you hung up the firefighting. Tell me the degree of changes that happened in that.
Okay. What I did do, on the advice of my husband, was keep a journal. Um, I did that when I could. I would take a little notebook with me and shove it in my fire pack, and then sometimes at night, we had all night uh, um, daylight up here in Alaska, so it kind of gets to be twilighty in June, July, and August. So I would, I would be tired and everything, but I'd lay there at night in my tent and I'd try to scribble down what I experienced that day. Sometimes I'd fall asleep drooling on my notebook. You're so tired.
Oh.
But anyway, yeah, I did. I kept a journal, but and then I don't want to give away how old I am, but computers came into my life in the mid 90s. And so I started banging out little daily journals on those. And when you work on a computer all day, the last thing I wanted to do is come home at night, do the same thing. So I didn't
Mhm.
write that much, but the journals I did. So,
Right.
and then, I threw them in a drawer. And when I was done with my day job, I hauled them all back out and I went, "Oh my gosh, I forgot about all this stuff."
Mhm.
So I think when you go back and read your experiences you wrote down, your memory, just everything comes flooding back to you, and you can put yourself back in that moment. And that's what I like about journaling. And I think it's
Right.
really important, for people to do that.
So how much of that, your journaling found its way into the books? All of it, a percentage? Give me an odds on that.
I'd say about maybe 40% because it
40%.
would trigger, yeah, it would trigger other events that happened. Um, Like, one time we were up at Fort Yukon and it was 95 degrees, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, where am I? Where am I? Is this Alaska?" It does, it gets hot up there sometimes, and
Right.
so we were helping load some, cargo into a little airplane, and I thought I was gonna pass out. Well, then we went, back to the fire station, it was 4th of July, and they wanted me to put on the Smokey the Bear suit for a parade, and I'm like, "Dude, it's 95 out, I can't," have you ever seen the Smokey the Bear suit? It's, like, all bulky and furry and kinda
Mhm.
clunky. So, I put that thing on, and I literally fainted inside that suit, and I kept asking for water, and there was this guy. When you're a female in fire, you don't always have males that like that, and I know
Oh,
that
yeah.
sounds weird, but especially back then. Um, so this guy was kinda not in my corner so much, and so he he I'm like, "I need water, I need water." "Oh, suck it up, you're a firefighter." And so I put all that in the book because for one thing, it was kind of funny. I wrote it funny, even though at the
Right.
time it kind of funny, but not really funny, but anyway,
It's
stuff like
funny
that.
after the emergency of it's over. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, and who was gonna believe you'd get heat stroke in the middle of freaking Alaska in a Smokey the Bear suit, you know? That's something that might
Right.
happen in Arizona or in the tropics or something.
Right. Right, I hear you on that. So, let's talk about your newest, Jealousy, a femme fatale series. Let's talk about this first in the series, and I think I'm right. This is the first one, Jealousy?
It's my first one, although what
Okay.
happened was oh, this was so much fun. I just love this. I went to a 20 Books conference in Vegas a couple years back, and I met this lady who said, "I'm doing a multi-author collaboration on a new series, and they're femme fatale assassins. Would you like to do this?" Because I was already in romantic suspense, and I thought, that sounds fun. So I said, "Sure." So there's 6 of us, and, Terry Wells Brown was the person who thought this up, and the first one she put out was Vanity, and then we all had, 1-month release dates, and then mine was, I think, number 4 or 5, 4, the 4th or 5th one, and
Okay.
so I never done that before. I'd never written, an assassin. I love the movies. I mean, I'd love to watch Salt and oh gosh, there's a whole bunch of
No,
movies.
I like Salt myself.
Yes.
Very good
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Oh gosh, and there's others that I think I watched like 20 of them with female assassins before I started writing this book, just to get into the jargon, the vernacular, you know, that kind of thing. And then I had just gone to Ireland before COVID, and I thought, where better to set a femme fatale than there, because we each got to set our own characters up within the shared universe of
Mhm.
the Sisters of Sin. So I put mine in Ireland and had her um, travel over to Rome to participate with the Sisters of Sin organization. Oh my gosh, it was just so much fun to write that thing. It really was.
It sounds would you think that you would do something similar again?
It was really fun to do that, but a lot of my readers that had read the Hero Protectors in my fire books they're not that much, they didn't want to cross over them. I had several crossovers, but not as much as I thought I would,
Right.
which leads to the dilemma of, oh, maybe I should have done another pen name. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, you learn these lessons later on.
Trust me, yeah, I know. I trust me. I have 12 books to my own name, trust me, I know.
Yeah, and why do we learn the hard way? It's like,
I
people tell us this stuff and we're like, "Oh,
I know.
they'll cross over.
No,
Oh."
don't do it. But you know what? Sometimes you just have that story within you and it has to come out. And even
Yes,
though you may appreciate and maybe the readers didn't, it's still an extremely exhilarating and fun experience to go out of your norm and try something totally different. I think it inspires you more, you know?
I do too, and, I had to do a ton of research for it because okay, now don't laugh. I mean, I know I'm in Alaska and grew up in Montana and everything, but I
Uh,
still didn't know the difference between a pistol and a revolver, hello? And so I'm like my husband is just he would slap his forehead and go, oh my god, you should know this, it's basics." I'm like,
yeah.
"Ugh." So anyway, I had to and then yeah, and I just but you know what was fun though, is like you say, it gets you out of your comfort level. You
Yes.
stretch and you learn and you prove to yourself, "Yes, I can write this. I can do this," and it's just a wonderful feeling.
Right. So, as an Alaskan author, explain to me the influence that just being where you are has had on your books, especially with the Alaskan titles like Alaskan Blaze and Alaskan Spark. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, I fell in love with this place before I ever got here back in the 8th grade when I saw Alaska Magazine on our coffee table. And so for me, it was like, well, next logical step up from Montana. I don't know. It was just one of those romantic places that I always wanted to go to for adventure and all this stuff. And I'd read all the Jack London books and Robert Service and all that kind of stuff. So I got up here and I got into the whole I mean, I just fell in love with this place. Is for well, for one thing, the scenery, you know, everywhere you turn, there's these gigantic mountains and I'd always have to remind myself, look up, because in Montana, ours they're tall, but they're not that tall, not
Mhm.
compared to these things. But I was always going, "Oh, yeah, they're" and, the first time I saw Denali, I think I just crumpled into a heap crying because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my god, and look at this mountain," It's just so cool. But there's
Right.
there's just some romantic, um the whole romantic adventure thing up here was fun. I got into the dog mushing for a while. Not I didn't run dogs, but I helped others and I'd handle for the Iditarod, stuff like that. And then, movies were shot up here, and I was an actor with the community theater up here in Anchorage, and so I got in as an extra in some of those, and they were romanticizing a lot of it, although some of those movies brought out the real dark, foreboding aspects, of Alaska, which there's a saying up here that Alaska will find 10 million ways to kill you in 10 minutes, so
Oh, wow.
just because
Oh,
the elements are so stark and,
yeah.
um,
Well, and
oh
bears. I mean, bears has to be a
oh,
big part of that.
oh my gosh, yeah.
I have a she shed. That's where I work from, and I can only imagine if we had bears. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Going from the house to go nope, that's it, no more podcasts.
I know, right? Well, we're not the only ones because sometimes I see the, um, the most aggressive bears in California up there in Big Bear and all
Mm.
that, and how they break into the cabins and everything, and I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh,"
wow.
but I did have a brown bear try to get into our bedroom one time. He came up on the deck, and I couldn't figure out why is a brown bear up there? Well, my daughter had put a bunch of salmon in a cooler on one end of our deck, and she didn't tell me, and so
Oh.
it was rotting in the cooler.
Oh, man.
Oh gosh. I'm like, "Why is this brown bear trying to get into my bedroom?" Oh, no.
I don't know. We have family that moved to, I think Colorado, and they are on the back of the reserve. I hope I'm correct on that. And they took pictures of grizzlies, and I was like, "Nope, that's it. Nope, I ain't never visited."
I know. I know.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so with 1 minute left on our clock, and I'm gonna stop it because it will buzz. So, tell me what's coming for you for 2023. Since we're still relatively new into this year, tell me what's coming for you. You already tried something a little out of your realm. What's coming next for you as far as your writing career?
Well, last year I set out a goal to become a hybrid author, and so I started querying traditional publishers, and the Wild Rose Press took 2 of my books, and with my
Nice.
acting experience, I did the romantic comedy, so I wanted to try that, and it turns out I just love romantic comedies. They're happy, they're fun, they're light, they're for me, they're easy to write because I did so much theater, comedy theater, it's like falling off a log. So more of those are coming out. I have Irish Thunder coming out with Wild Rose Press this year. And then, of course, Alaska Blaze and Alaska Firestorm on the indie side of the house. So, yeah, I've got that happening. I probably won't be doing any more anthologies, though, because I want to focus on my own books. So, there's
Right.
that.
Right. Well, you were an absolute delight, Lolo. I've so enjoyed having you on the program tonight.
Well, thank you. I'm so
Oh, you're
happy that,
welcome.
yeah, it's fun to do this.
Well, wonderful. Come back anytime. We'd love to have you. I want to thank you
Okay.
for coming in. I want to thank you for coming in. Thank you to our listeners. Guys, we have done this is our 79th podcast, and we have been downloaded over I can't even give you the exact figure, I would have to look, but I know it is over 1.8K. So I wanna thank you guys so freaking much. That just warms my heart to know that you are downloading each and every episode. So thank you very much. Until next time, bye-bye for now.